The Valkyrie hunting cruiser Crimson Talon drifted silently through the asteroid field, its sensors locked onto a single human escape pod. Inside the command chamber, War Master Thexgol clicked his mandibles in anticipation, his four eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. "The human female is conscious," reported his second-in-command. "Vitals show elevated stress levels. Perfect for the hunt." Elizabeth Chen had been awake for 3 hours, her fingers working methodically through the escape pod's emergency supplies. The mining vessel she'd been stationed on had been ambushed, its crew scattered or dead. Now she floated alone in the black, and the alien ship circling her position made its intentions abundantly clear. She'd heard stories about the Velk. The entire galaxy had. They were apex predators who'd conquered 40 systems, and they had a particular tradition, releasing captured prey on their hunting worlds to pursue them for sport. Humans were considered especially entertaining due to their panic responses and desperate survival attempts. Elizabeth checked her survival pack: 1 plasma cutter, 3 days of rations, a medkit, and a flare gun. She allowed herself a cold smile. The Valkyrie had clearly never hunted a human who didn't want to be prey. The tractor beam seized her pod within the hour. Elizabeth remained calm as they transported her to the hunting world, a carefully manicured ecosystem, designed for maximum entertainment. Forests, plains, mountains, all monitored by thousands of cameras for the Valkyrie elite to watch and wager upon. Thexgol himself appeared in the holding cell, towering over Elizabeth at nearly 3 meters tall. His exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, and his serrated claws could tear through steel. "You are fortunate, human," he growled through his translator. "You will provide us with excellent sport. We will give you a 10-minute head start. Run well." Elizabeth looked up at him, her expression unreadable. "You've made a mistake." Thexgol's mandibles clicked in amusement. "They all say something similar before the fear takes them. But you are not the hunter here, so you are prey." They released her at dawn in a temperate forest zone. Elizabeth didn't run. Instead, she climbed the nearest tree and waited, watching her surroundings with the patience of someone who'd spent years surviving Earth's wilderness before joining the mining corps. The Valkyrie expected flight. Their entire hunting strategy relied on pursuit, on wearing down their prey through superior speed and endurance. What they didn't understand about humans was something written into their very DNA. Humans were persistence hunters, evolved to outlast and outsmart their prey over days and weeks. But Elizabeth wasn't planning to outlast them. She was planning something else entirely. The first hunter arrived within an hour, weapons powered down to avoid a quick kill. Where was the sport in that? His thermal sensors showed Elizabeth's heat signature in a rocky outcropping 3 kilometers away. He stalked forward eagerly. The plasma cutter, buried in leaves and set to overload, detonated when his weight triggered the proximity sensor Elizabeth had. The explosion didn't kill him, but it wounded him badly enough to send distress signals screaming across the hunting network. Thexgol watched from the command ship with growing unease. 3 more hunters had gone silent. Not dead, the humans lacked weapons for that, but incapacitated, trapped in dead, blinded by chemical mixtures created from local plant life. One had even been lured into a cave system and buried under a controlled collapse. "Impossible," Thexgol hissed. "She should be exhausted, terrified. How is she doing this?" His tactical officer pulled up the footage. Elizabeth moved through the forest with calculated precision, never wasting energy, always planning 3 moves ahead. She ate while she walked, slept into hour intervals in carefully concealed positions, and turned every element of the environment into a weapon. "War Master," the officer said quietly, "I believe we're not watching prey behavior. We're watching a predator." On the surface, Elizabeth had just eliminated her 7th hunter. She'd used the flare gun to start a controlled burn, funneling to Valkyrie into a box canyon where she'd weakened a rock face. The avalanche had done the rest. She was exhausted, covered in cuts and bruises, running on adrenaline and sheer stubborn will. But she was also learning. Each encounter taught her more about Valkyrie physiology, their tactics, their weaknesses. They were stronger and faster, yes, but they hunted like aristocrats playing a game, not survivors fighting for their lives. Jackson Hayes received Elizabeth's distress beacon 8 days into her ordeal. His human military frigate Tenacious dropped out of slipspace on the edge of the system, scanners immediately detecting the Valkyrie hunting world. "Mom," his tactical officer reported, "we're reading 43 Valkyrie biosigns on the surface, and 1 human. The human is still mobile." Jackson's jaw tightened. 8 days? Most captives lasted hours. "Get me a surface team ready. We're going in." But before they could launch, something extraordinary happened. Elizabeth walked out of the forest and directly toward the main Valkyrie hunting lodge. dragging an unconscious Valkyrie hunter behind her. Thexgo watched in disbelief as the human female who should have been dead or broken approached the lodge's entrance. She was battered and bloodied, but her eyes burned with an intensity that sent an unfamiliar sensation down his spine. Fear. "I'm done running," Elizabeth announced, her voice carried by every camera and sensor in the complex. "You wanted to hunt a human. Now you know what we are. We're the species that hunted mammoths to extinction with pointed sticks. We're the apex predators of a death world where everything evolved to kill us, and we won. You think you're hunters?" She dropped the Valkyrie warrior at her feet. "We invented hunting." The Tenacious descended through the atmosphere as Jackson coordinated with Elizabeth's position. By the time they reached the lodge, the Valkyrie had already powered down their weapons and opened their shields. Thexgo himself escorted Elizabeth to the landing pad, his posture one of submission rather than dominance. He'd lost 17 hunters, not killed, but comprehensively defeated by a single human with improvised weapons and what he now recognized as a terrifying level of strategic intelligence. As Elizabeth climbed aboard the shuttle, Jackson met her with a medkit and a grin. "Heard you had some trouble?" Elizabeth smiled grimly, accepting the water he offered. "They learned an important lesson." "What's that?" "Humans don't run from predators. We make them extinct." The Crimson Talon departed the system within the hour. The Valkyrie Hunting Guild would issue a galaxy-wide memo shortly after. Humans were officially removed from the approved prey list, not because they were protected, not because of military concerns, but because of a simple, terrifying truth the Valkyrie had learned. When you hunt a human, you're not the hunter. You never were.